What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boys over here at Three Man Weave. I'm your co-host CJ here with my lovely co-host ZD, and today we have a huge episode with a lot of free agent signings, a lot of players getting extensions, and we're also going to be talking about for our off-season files. We're going to be talking about the Charlotte Hornets, who actually just made a trade yesterday as well. So just kind of, obviously appreciate y'all for listening and watching the podcast. And ZD, how are you doing today, sir? I didn't even ask you. Sorry.
Are you good? I'm tapped in, bro. I mean, we were just talking about it. There's so many people, there's so many things going on. Like it's too much, bro. Especially at this point. Like we got to just get on here so we can talk about it. But I'm good, man. I'm in chilling today. I had a good day. Got some things I got to run into later, but as of right now, I'm focused on basketball, bro, and I'm
Yo,
excited to get into it.
breaking news. The Denver
Huh?
Nuggets are trading Michael Porter Jr., an unprotected 2032 first round pick, to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson.
Wait, I don't know if I like that.
Jeez, man.
I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not for the Nuggets. For the Nets again. Just stockpiling picks,
Yeah.
bro.
And
We talked
obviously,
about it in the off.
MPJ has like a big contract, so they're trying to eat up their cap space.
They've moved off of two of their three players that we had, and
Oh,
that's good, bro. Like they
yeah.
got rid of D'Lo,
Cam
they
Johnson.
got rid of Cam Johnson.
Damn, we just talked about that too. That's crazy how that works, huh? We did say they're
Yeah, bro.
they're definitely, they're not
They
untouchable.
got to, yeah, and they got to move on. Like that's not going to bring you a championship. And in reality, they got a first round pick to them. That's probably the most valuable, especially in 20 to 32. My gosh,
Oh
the
yeah.
Nuggets could be bad.
Bad. Yeah, they could be really
Oh
bad by
man,
then, yeah. But
wow.
yeah, so like I said, just gonna be breaking news pretty much this whole pod. Ty Jerome just signed with the Grizzlies, 3 year, 28 mil. Shout out to him. But yeah, it's gonna be like that. So we're obviously gonna talk about it as we go, but we're gonna hit the heavy hitters, the big moves. LeBron doing his thing, Harden, and all these players. So yeah, just kind of if you want to start it off, Z, wherever you want to take
I
this
mean,
pot.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you saw what happened with. I guess I'll start with my Lakers, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess LeBron's finna come back for like another 50 million or something. But what's most interesting to me is we just didn't announce it. Like we didn't tell our people about it at all that he like re-signed. There still hasn't been a post-release presser, but yesterday I think Shams broke the news that he was going to re-sign for 52 million, which is good. Um, I think it's not to say that LeBron could walk, but I think he recognizes the like how vulnerable the Lakers really are, especially right now. Again, we've been talking about timelines before we hopped on here, but just looking at the Western Conference and the landscape, like we're kind of behind schedule in terms of what we need to do and what some of compared to the Rockets, the Thunder, like the T Wolves, what some of these other squads are doing, and so um, I think he's evaluating potentially leaving us. That's why it was that 1 year kind of trial run just to see what happens with Luca and LeBron. I think for his age too, he can't be making any decision like signing a 3 year, 4 year deal or something and just kind of riding off into the sunset. I think he wants to have some flexibility and ultimately I understand that. But I wasn't like too shocked at the number. I was just more so like, damn, okay. Well I guess LeBron can leave LA. Like I think he'd probably go back to the Cavs or like a contender, but I don't really. Um, as of for this season, we have him. I think I'm more focused on like the Luka Doncic timeline. Um, but he is planning to stay with us another year, so that's good. I think if he can be the LeBron James that we all know him to be, the 25, 7, 6 type of player, and still be great, what's there to complain about? I think the Lakers, for them to have a best chance to win, they got to have LeBron James in that lineup at this moment. We don't really have another player that can fill his services. So I know it's good for the Lakers, but in terms of LeBron's perspective, I think he kind of sees the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I had in my notes. Just I think he's preparing for the future and kind of what those next steps are going to look like. Like it could be retirement, it could be moving on to another squad, bro. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I mean, LeBron is also he's kind of like a diva a little bit. He likes to do things in a very, like he had when he was
The
leaving
decision.
Cleveland, yeah, the decision and like he does, his things are very overhyped, but
Right.
I think he's trying to make this retirement send off pretty peaceful. So,
Hmm.
I had to start with that. That happened what like 12, 14 hours ago. So, um, happened while I was at work. But I'm glad he's back with us, man. The King James is back in the building. There ain't no complaints for me. I think the other thing that I had in my notes is like if we were to trade him, obviously it would happen this year. Try to get some value back. I don't think a lot of teams would be interested in like a 41, 42-year old for half a season.
Yeah.
Uh, and like, if he'll even resign, but most likely if we did do a trade, it would be to a team that LeBron would sign with the next season. And we would just take some of their assets. But I was going to ask you, man, like, what do you think LeBron is worth in a trade?
Dude, that's a good question, man. Because obviously we've seen what the Suns were able to get back for KD. Obviously not as old as LeBron, but up there in age, probably like 5 years, whatever it is, difference. But I don't know. That's a tough thing, man. Because I mean, he's still LeBron. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna be, you know, getting you a decent amount of stats. I mean, hasn't really slowed down since being in the league, and obviously it's going to hit that point. So I think that's one thing that the teams are probably worried about. Like when is he going to slow down? And it's bound to happen, right? Like Father Time is undefeated in the game of basketball,
Exactly.
game of sports in general. Um, I don't know, man. Like I wouldn't say he's worth like a king's ransom of draft picks because that would be unfair to the team that is getting him in return. They're gonna be sending him to the Lakers, but I think he's definitely worth like maybe one or two first round picks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's still that caliber of player even at this age. And I feel like we've been saying it since he left to Cleveland the first time, and then he obviously went to the Lakers. Like any team he's really gone on, he's pretty much putting them in playoff contention every year. And I think that more so just goes to obviously his skill, but whenever they're bringing on a player of his caliber, they know that, like you said, the window is short for them to try to win a championship for him. So they're gonna put all the pieces around him to make
Yep.
it easier goal to accomplish. But yeah, no, I would definitely say probably at least one first round pick, and then probably at most two, personally, and
Yeah.
then maybe like
Yeah.
a
A
good
good
a
player.
good player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. And kind of going into some moves that happened too. Like we lost Dorian Finney-Smith today. He went
Yes.
to the Rockets on a pretty team-friendly deal. Again, man, like I don't blame him. Makes a ton of money in Texas. There's not as many taxes there. But we signed Jake LaRavia, and to be honest with you, I'm not super certain he's the guy. I don't know. LeBron James is going to see the types of moves that the Lakers are going to make over the next couple months and decide if we're going to be able to contend. The two moves that had happened that obviously we had our draft pick, but getting Laravia, losing Finney Smith, I don't think we got better.
No.
So as of right now, like our roster is a little bit worse off, which isn't a good sign. And we also still haven't filled that center void. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen over the next 8 to 12 months. Um, we do have LeBron James under contract, so Lakers faithful, don't worry. Like I said 5 minutes ago, he's still in the building. But as of right now, I think he sees a light at the end of the tunnel that, I think he's interested in approaching. I don't think 3, 4 years ago, he was like, oh, I'm with the Lakers forever, blah, 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 kind of right after Kobe died. But I think his mentality has changed because he wants to win and we haven't been able to win. And that's just the truth. Like, we haven't gotten back to uh, the Denver series, I think, really put a damper on our franchise in terms of the momentum. It was just hard to beat them, and I think that's kind of why we traded for Luca. We moved off of ADs because we saw how LeBron and AD, the duo performed in the playoffs, and so we had to make a decision, bro. And I think that's why they brought Luka Doncic in here to try to mix things up, try to shake things up. And yeah, Austin Reeves isn't getting any cheaper, and we'll
Yeah,
see, man. I don't know.
yeah,
It's not like sunny days in LA,
yeah.
but um, I'm excited for the Luka timeline for sure.
Yeah. That's what it's really. I mean, I talked to you about it. You've brought it up plenty of times whenever I've asked you about what the future for the Lakers looks like, and pretty much up to Luca being traded there, it's kind of like I don't know, man. We'll see. But now that y'all got Luca, the future is obviously Luca and trying to figure out what team is going to be good enough to compete for a championship every year. So you have him for
Yeah,
at least two more years. I mean, I think he has that player option in 2026, 2027, but you have all next year and you have him with LeBron. So, I know that probably, puts you in a, not the greatest mood, but like, the king is back in LA, so can't complain
yeah.
about
I
that, right?
mean, can't complain, man. We'll try to run it back. I think I'm a realistic pessimist. Like
Right.
I don't want to be too, oh, we're gonna win the NBA Finals and this is so great. Like y'all will see some of the insight I have. I think a lot of these moves need to be made with the Thunder in mind, and I think a lot of teams are forgetting that. Grizzlies, Timberwolves rolling right into this next deal, the next couple deals we got. Timberwolves re-signed Nas Reed and Julius Randle yesterday. I think Julius got a 3-year 100, and then Nas got 125.
Mm-hmm.
The Randle deal isn't bad. That's a pretty friendly deal in my opinion, especially for the type of production you're getting from Julius. But I think the Nas Reed deal is not good, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll explain why. The Thunder, in my opinion, are the best team that we've seen in the last decade, and they're the youngest team that we've seen in the last decade to win a championship. I think their average age was 24, 25. Now, the Timberwolves have ran into that buzzsaw the last 2 years and still haven't been able to beat the Thunder. They beat the Nuggets, whatever, but um, I think they need to think about what Anthony Edwards is going to have over the next couple of years because I think when you're signing guys to massive contracts that they're young, it's not like to say that they're not in their prime, but it hasn't produced results yet. That's kind of worrisome, especially from the standpoint of being in the West, having to compete with the Thunder, with the Nuggets, with the Lakers. Like at some point, you're going to have to ask yourself, is this really the roster that we can climb a mountain with? I think Nas Reed is a deserving player. I know you saw this other deal. Bobby got
Mm-hmm.
3 years, 44.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby's older, but he has, if you look up his numbers, bro, they're the same.
Right.
Like it's not like Nas Reed is this first team All NBA player or whatever. So I think some of those open checkbook things are definitely going to hurt them. But it definitely signals that Minnesota is trying to build around this core of Anthony Edwards and Nas Reed and Julius Randle. And again, I don't know if that's going to lead them to a championship, but that's where they're headed. And, I hope Minnesota can see that through, because they still got Jaden McDaniels. They're going to lose Nikhil Alexander Walker. They can't afford it. Gobert is also on a crazy contract for his production, which is
Mm-hmm.
like another massive L. Um, they need to look to restructure some of those because I think they got to get Gobert on a descending contract, kind of similar to Miles Bridges, who plays for the Hornets, but get guys on more team friendly deals and you'll be able to do more. I think that's what makes the Thunder so great is they negotiate every dollar, you could save a player over the course of 3 to 4 years negotiating deals properly, like a whole extra roster player, like value wise, just in terms of money. So I think Minnesota has some. They have some questions to answer. I wonder how big of a threat that they think they are to the Thunder.
Yeah.
If you were to ask them that question, we don't have that answer, but I would assume they feel like they're still pretty inferior right now to the Thunder. And if that's the case, why are you signing guys to numbers that realistically in 2030 aren't going to make a ton of sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's saw that obviously the two extensions that the Timberwolves got, and my thinking was like you said, the Randall. I'm not mad at that contract. I think he
No,
he was fantastic for them in the playoffs, leading up to the Western Conference Finals, and even when he returned back from, I think he was injured whenever he got traded, or he had got injured, so he didn't play a lot for the Timberwolves. I think until probably the last 20 games of the season, and he was still getting his footing. But from what I saw, he looked like a great duo to be playing against, like, or standing next to Ant and playing off of him, because I feel like that's the main thing when he was with the Knicks. Julius Randle,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
had the assignment of being like the primary like shot creator, playmaker for that team at the time. And not saying that he can't do it, but I think he plays better as a secondary playmaker, shot creator, not having to rely so much on him. And obviously they have Ant, so that's gonna be the primary creator for the offense. But
He's the franchise.
yeah,
He's the franchise.
I think that was perfect. I think what he showed me in the playoffs alone, kind of he deserved that. Obviously took him to conference finals and ended up falling short, but that's neither here nor there. But the Naz Reid, man, that contract, I was very surprised. I saw a lot of people's reaction. They're like, man, I know I'm high, but did I read this right? Did I just see that Naz Reid got a 5-year, 125 million, whatever it is? He's like, ain't no way. So, me seeing that, my thinking is obviously Naz Reid has been coming off the bench for them. If you're paying him that much money, he has to start, right?
Yeah,
Right?
bro.
Like,
Like,
you're not gonna have your six man be getting paid that much money for 5 years,
we'll
right?
see.
Right?
Yeah,
But I mean
I
that.
think. I would start him. I think he should be a starter
Yeah.
anyway. But I think Nas has this like weird thing. Like, I think he wants to play off the bench.
Right.
If he wants to, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
You can still play him 30 minutes or
Right.
35
Right. Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I see what you're saying though. Like, yeah, like if I'm Chris Finch, I'm gonna be like, yeah, get your ass in
You're
there.
gonna be playing 30 minutes a game. We're paying you
Yeah,
this money. You can produce, but obviously you feel probably more comfortable coming off the bench
yeah.
because
I
you could
think
kind
it's
of get your
something like
game.
that.
But yeah, no, that was kind of my thinking, man. I mean, no disrespect to Nasri, great
Yeah, he's
player.
good
I mean,
too.
six man
Yeah,
of the
he's good.
year. We speak highly of a lot of these players in the league. I think we're more so just looking at how much money they're getting and kind of where the team's at. And like you said, we have something to go off of, and that's the Thunder are NBA champions. So any move right now in the offseason, you kind of have to think, is this a move? Are we moving in the right direction to beat the Thunder or at least to compete with the Thunder? And I'm not going to lie, I don't know if these two re-signings are enough to do that. They're great
I agree.
players, they're a great team, but I don't know. And them, like you said, they're going to lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker just because they signed two players to massive contract extensions.
Massive
So,
or bigger
and
deals.
and
Yeah,
he was a huge reason why not. I mean, obviously it was a 5-game series, but there were some games that were pretty competitive. He was a huge reason for that. He's a good defender. He can score in certain times. So, it's gonna be tough for them, bro. Like you said, they're gonna be locked up for a while. I feel like that was the reason why they got rid of Cat. Was to kind of free up the books. And
and
now
Gobert is
and
yeah. Gobert.
Gobert has, bro. His
I think it's a two
I think
or what is it?
his contract's descending. So he was making
Okay,
43.8 last year. He's making 35 this year, and then 36 the next year, and then he has a player
yeah.
option for
It's
30.
not horrible, but it's still 70 over
Yeah,
two.
it's
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 just like,
it's it's pretty
mm,
bad for the production.
yeah, I'm like $40 million almost for
Right.
Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, for Rudy
Like, I
Gobert.
don't.
Yeah.
I think
But
you make a great point though. Like, the Thunder are just so young too. It's not like, I think last offseason there was less urgency towards the Celtics. No offense to the Celtics, but they just were a bit older of a roster with just more championship pedigree. But now that the Thunder have one, like, they're so young that window is still open for the next 4 or 5 years. And I think you bring up a great point. Like, most teams in the West, especially the West, obviously, but
right.
in the NBA in general, you need to be thinking about the Thunder kind of moving forward. And Jimmy High Roller made a video on it. I touched on it last time. It hasn't dropped yet, but he said it like they think they still have the most assets. Like,
Oh, 100
right
percent.
around the amount of picks that the Nets, the Spurs have, like some of the worst teams in the league have.
Yep.
So, kind of goes to show you how the Thunder have been built. But let's go into the Grizzlies, bro. Would you like to talk about Triple J?
Yeah, yeah. So this kind of just broke right as we were talking before we hopped on the pod to start recording. Jaren Jackson
Stay in the
Jr.
West.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr. We're staying in the West. he signs an extension with the Grizzlies for 5 year, $240 million extension. We talked about this, and I'm pretty sure you'll get into your thoughts. I kind of feel the same way. Kind of what we were talking about. Is this a move to compete with the Thunder? I mean, obviously we played them in the first round. Ja got injured. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a great player. I feel like he stepped a lot on the offensive side of the ball with Ja being injured and
Great.
not really having a kind of like a playmaker, a shot creator on that team. So I think he's a great player. Just that how much money he's getting now, and where the team is at. I just don't know if this is going to be the move. Like he's always in the running for like an all-star, right? So I mean, if you're getting paid this much, I kind of hope you would be. And then and
Right.
then maybe potentially breaking an all defensive team. Obviously, he was a DPOY a couple years ago, so that's not in question. It's just I don't know, man. It's crazy for me because he's good defensively. He's a great offensive player, but like my one thing I nitpick about him is just like he doesn't get enough boards to be a big man, bro. Like he averages like 5, 6 rebounds. You know what I mean? And that
I agree.
and that's like nitpicky
Kind of
shit,
soft.
right? You know what I mean? Like that's not
Yeah.
that's not like a huge thing, right? But it's still you have to think about that type of stuff. You're paying this
Yeah, he's
player this
big,
much
bro.
to he's like 6'10", whatever, 6'11", whatever it is, and you're getting 5 rebounds a game. But like I said, offensively great. I feel like this year he really took that assignment, really redefined his game, and became a shot creator at like a 6'11" power forward center position. So
Yeah.
you don't see that often. So like I said, I'm not mad at it. I just don't know if this a move that is it really gonna help them potentially beat us in a series, or get us past that, get them past the hump. You know what I mean? That's kind of my thinking of it. So
Yeah. And you have to take into consideration like the Desmond Bain
right,
and Jaw's health and like yeah, like how is this going to affect your books? Not next season because that's one thing. I
yeah,
think it's like yeah, like for our audience it is tough because like we're talking about this off season, but I think some of these deals have impacts in 3 4 years from now, right?
mm-hmm.
And I think this is one of those deals. To me, this is too expensive for Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he should be right around 200 million. That's a number that I'm more comfortable with paying, but 240 signals to him and to all of us that the Grizzlies are all in on that. They clearly that's going to take up a big portion of our entire supermax spot. So yeah, man, like they're moving in that direction. I'm excited to see what comes from it. I think they had a great team last year. They just ran into some injuries. I think Jaren Jackson's a great player, but kind of like you're alluding to, CJ, I think that's gonna have some impact coming down, especially later on in his contract. Because we'll just have to see how the Grizzlies perform this year, bro. Like
Yeah,
they've been, to be honest with you, I'll keep it real for the Memphis faithful. You guys haven't gotten anything. I think there's been a lot of talk, a lot of chatter out of Memphis, and those guys used to talk a lot. They were making a lot of noise a few years back in the playoffs, and to me, like a lot of that noise has died down. And I just their direction is definitely in question. Like
right.
I think a few years ago they were more of a hype team than they are now, and that kind of signals to me that you guys are taking step backs. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I think every team has their ups and downs. I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
They still haven't gotten over the hump, and again, like the Lakers won in 2020. I know I shouldn't be talking, but we have a recent win,
Right.
like within the last 5 years. So it's kind of like, again, like the Grizzlies haven't done much at all
No.
for honestly since the Grizzlies that you brought up on this show with Marc Gasol and
Mm-hmm.
Conley and Rudy Gay and Tony Allen. Like that was the last great Grizzlies team that I can remember. So
Yeah.
hopefully John Morant, Triple J gets it figured out. No longer Desmond Bain is no longer there. I think they got Cole Anthony. I think they had to like get rid of him, bro, to
That
make
that
the
contract
numbers
work.
work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I wonder where he's gonna end up, but that hurts them as well. I think he was gonna be a really good backup point guard for them, another like instant offense spark plug kind of guy who could defend, but they're no longer going to have his services. So I, like I've been saying, I hope it's worth it to the Memphis Grizzlies to be all in on Jaren Jackson Jr. It's
Hmm.
pretty simply put.
Yeah, yeah, because like we were saying about the Timberwolves, they're kind of putting them in a spot where Ja and Triple J are going. I mean, they were already their cornerstone pieces, right? But with these contracts, they are your cornerstone pieces, so you have to build around them. And let's hope Ja doesn't get injured or Triple J doesn't get injured. Like that's something you brought up as well. Like injuries have kind of derailed a lot of their
Yeah,
seasons pretty much every year. So yeah, no man, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do.
young player.
I talk highly of the Grizzlies. I talked about it last podcast about their developmental staff and they're able to draft really good players. So I'm assuming they're probably betting on that. These young guys that they're drafting and working them up, but it's not that easy all the time. So you have to build a team, and with them losing Desmond
Yeah.
Bain, and they just said we're injured all last season, so it's hard to say what they're really going to be coming into this next season.
And 4 months ago, I don't think you really like none. Me and you didn't see this coming for them. I think it just says like I don't know, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
like there's stuff they have to figure out. I think if 4 months ago you would have asked me would they have traded Desmond Bain, I would have said no. But
yeah, no, for sure.
here we are. So I hope they can get that figured out. But I mean, shout out to Triple J, bro. Like I'm not hating. I think he's a great player. He deserves to get paid that much money for sure. I hope the Memphis Grizzlies kind of paint a clear picture of where they can go next with that roster. And John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. really hasn't gotten you much,
I
and
don't.
that's just the
I'm
truth.
pretty sure they haven't got past the second round.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Like
so
we'll see.
we'll see.
But hey, tell the people what happened in Denver, man, so we can head out east for a second.
Man, Denver. So I think I broke this at the beginning, but we're gonna talk about it now in full, in our reactions, what we think. The Denver Nuggets are trading Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected 2032 first round pick to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson. We just talked about Brooklyn Nets last podcast. Obviously, hasn't posted yet, but two of the three players that you said were their key players,
Right.
right? People or players that you would probably try to build a team around, kind of grow with them, are gone now off the Brooklyn Nets. I think this is a great pickup for the Nets. We talked about it last podcast. I can look up MPJ's contract right now. I know it's a pretty hefty one, but I think this is great.
Weird.
I think it's great for them because the Nets have cap space that they're needing to fill, and with the player of Michael Porter Jr., he's a great shooter. I think that's great. They need that.
Similar
Yeah,
player.
similar type of player. Maybe not as good defensively, but you're pretty much. I would say with this, they're not getting better. They're not getting worse. They're kind of staying where they're at. The quality I would say are pretty much the same. You know what I mean? Like I said, Cam Johnson might be a little bit better on defense, and I guess
For
he's.
sure.
I honestly, health wise, I would say they're obviously MPJ has had crazy injuries, and the fact that he's even still playing in the league is shout out to
He's
him.
been healthy.
Yes,
He's been healthy.
he has. I know he was injured in the playoffs, so his shoulder. So, but I know Cam Johnson has been injured all this past season as well. But yeah, I think that's the main thing for me. Just kind of getting someone that has a hefty contract. You kind of fill up the cap space. If he has a great year, because I mean, I'm not doubting it. MPJ is kind of one of those just plug and play players. If you surround him with people that could get him the ball, he can shoot lights out. Shoot 43% from three next season. Flip him. Get more picks. Get more assets. I think that's where Brooklyn kind of needs to hang their hat on right now. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the type of kind of like what Washington did with Porzingis. They picked him up for like pretty cheap. I think that's kind of
That's a good
what
example.
I think that's kind of what the Nets have to do. They have to get these players that kind of are trajectory of their career might be on the downturn, but they could come here, they get enough playing time. We're a young team, we have money to spend, we could kind of put everything on the table. If you ball out, boom, you could get another opportunity for another team, or what if we have a crazy season, you know? So I think it was great for them, you know. Cam Johnson going to the Nuggets. I mean, like I was pretty much saying, pretty similar players. I think he's going to be good. Um, I think the real prize of that trade was that draft pick, that unprotected 2032 first round draft pick.
I was
We
gonna say,
we don't know what the Nuggets are going to be in
oh, they're gonna
7 years.
suck.
You know what I mean? Yeah, we're assuming they're gonna suck. It's gonna be a good draft pick, and that cause and you know we talked about it. You know the Nets have won a lot of draft capital this season, and they've had it for the past couple of seasons. You know, so getting that as well with the type of team they have, with the players that they have on that Denver team right now, the way it's looking is that draft pick is gonna be pretty good. More than likely a lottery pick. So shout out to them. That was a huge pick. That
I know.
news
I know.
news broke right as we started. So kind of want to see what you think, Z. What are your thoughts on this trade?
Yeah, like I don't like it on the Nuggets side. I think this is super rushed. Again, like love Cam Johnson, no slight to him, but how are you guys going to beat the Thunder?
Right.
Like for the 2032 unprotected as well?
Yes.
My gosh, that was one of the best assets the Nuggets had in their franchise,
Yeah.
and it's gone. And it's in the Nets' possession, who has, like CJ was saying, a ton of assets, a ton of capital, massive cap room. Yeah, I don't love it, man. Judging off where the Nuggets finished last season, you could say they were very close. They did take the Thunder to 7 games, so I want to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
They probably played them the best in that entire playoffs, I'll be honest.
Hundred
So
percent.
shout out to the Nuggets for sure. Very close, but I think there needs to be something said about continuity. I don't know if Cam Johnson's going to immediately be impacted. Like again, whenever you make a trade like that, it's going to take some time to get used to how that guy plays. He's not going to struggle. Nikola Jokic plays on the Nuggets, so he's going to have a bunch of open jumpers. He's going to shoot a ton of threes and be a better defender. But let me put it to you this way: is what you're going to get with Cam Johnson because he's 30. We looked this up the other day.
Yeah.
For the next 3 to 4 years, worth it? Whenever you have to give up the 2032 unprotected in 7 years when you suck,
No.
like that should be the question you're asking yourself, man. And I think from a roster, like pure player standpoint, I think it's a fair trade. It's great, but I think the Nets did win this one, and it's just because of what you said. Similar style player. They don't necessarily need defensive services. Like the
No.
Nets aren't going to the playoffs,
Yeah.
so you might as well soak up a bad or semi bad contract, get more assets, and then continue to move on. The Nuggets have a lot of work to do here. I think Cam Johnson's a great player. He's going to fit right alongside Jokic, and we'll have to see what happens with Westbrook. Right, like they still their roster's still up in the air. I think Christian Braun is definitely probably moves in as their third best guy now. I
Mm-hmm.
would say, and just based off of like continuity again. Like Cam Johnson's talented for sure, but I don't think he's better than Christian Braun is right now in the Nuggets. So that's yet to be seen. I think this trade was kind of crazy, obviously kind of out of the blue on a Monday, June 30th, but yeah, it kind of shows you how desperate the Nuggets are a little bit, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah. 100%. I'm looking at the contracts right now just because I'm curious. MPJ next year is going to be making 38 million. Cam Johnson next year
Yeah,
is
it's
going to be
40.
making 20 million. So, you know, I guess saving a little bit more money. Probably going to do an extension for Christian Brown.
Younger,
So
right?
yeah, a little bit younger. But yeah, no, they're definitely in a we have to win right now because if
Yeah,
not, then whatever when we're 2032 we're gonna
purgatory.
purgatory. Yeah, we lost that first round pick. We're in this position where we need to get everyone back to or get people to win right now with Jokic because this is our time. Because who's
They
telling whenever
they could
we're
trade Jokic always too and
yeah.
get a bevy of assets.
Oh,
A bevy
100%.
of assets. Like
He's.
if they really wanted to move on,
I think the
like
owner talked about that too. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you
yeah,
saw
no,
that.
for sure. I think that's kind of why they're making this move, though, is because I don't think they're afraid to do that, which is interesting. Like you said, they brought that up already. I don't think it's out of the question for them. If they don't want to go towards purgatory, they can be like, well, we have a three-time MVP, blah blah blah. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's worth 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round
Oh,
picks for sure.
100%.
I
Yeah.
don't know about at the age in 2032, but
Yeah.
probably over the next 3 years that'll have to happen if you're gonna trade Yoke.
Yeah. They're in a weird spot, man. It's crazy
Yeah, it's a weird spot.
how fast things can change in the league. They just
Oh,
won
I know.
two 2 years ago. They just won 2 years ago.
And I don't know, is Aaron Gordon gonna be back for the season, or did he have surgery?
Oh, like is he gonna be playing? I was like,
Yeah.
he's on a player option right now, but let me check. It's like injured.
Oh, yeah. I don't know,
They're more
but
than likely gonna re-sign Christian Brown, like you said, and they just got Bruce Brown Jr. back, so
okay.
they signed him back. One of the players that were on the championship team, but
Championship team, yeah.
um,
Yeah, they got Bruce Brown like just now while we were talking, right?
yeah, probably like
Yeah.
15 minutes ago.
Good for them.
Yeah,
That's good. He's cheap. Okay. That's an example of a player that probably should have never left them.
yeah. No, he should have never left. I
Like
think
that's a
he
weird
because when he went to the Pelicans, or where did he go after?
and the Pacers,
Pacers,
Pacers.
Pacers. That's what it was. And obviously, probably try to get a bag, capitalize on the moment, but you know,
Yeah,
it's not all. Everybody's different. Every
it's not
player's different.
perfect.
Every motive. It's not always greener on
The
the other
same,
side.
yeah.
But uh,
100%.
there's been some trades and stuff from Shams. I don't know if you want to go through those or do you want to just
I
go
have
through?
I have more.
Okay,
I,
bet.
I was I thought you were looking up the number. My bad.
Oh no,
But
you're good.
yeah, no, Aiton. This kind of goes into what we were saying about the Lakers, but I think kind of a good way to finish this off is with Harden and Aiton. But Aiton recently got bought out, and to me, I mean, the Blazers they're moving smarter now that they don't have a bunch of well, they still have a center logjam, but it's a little bit better now. Yeah,
Dude, they
like I
have
mean,
like four centers.
or yeah, they still have a lot. I don't know, but this is a better move in my opinion, just to get Aiden off the books. I don't think
100%.
this was a great like signing, anyways. I think he should have. He had that offer sheet from the Pacers actually, and
Mm.
the Blazers were able to match, and so that's why he was on the team. But yeah, bro. I mean, he got bought out yesterday. I think it kind of signals to me that the Blazers are in full rebuild mode. They're not really trying to win anytime soon. But I think Aiton just took up a lot of cap space for them, and he took up more minutes than anything. I think he's a great player, but I think his services would be better elsewhere on a team like the Hornets or the Lakers. And you could probably find him winding up on a team like that, to be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
for not the mid-level exception, but pretty close to it because he's already gotten paid from the contract from the Blazers already, so he doesn't need more money. He won't be like necessarily looking for that. I think he's just looking to go to a contender and be
Mm-hmm.
good. And yeah, I think this was good to see yesterday. It made me happy. James Harden too also re-signed for that bigger number, and so yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the Western Conference that happened yesterday. I think what was it? It was like 2 years, 81.
Yep.
So,
With Harden.
Clippers bringing back James Harden, that says a lot about what they want to do there too. I think they believe in Kawhi, bro. He's on our all playoff team, and I'm gonna try to get that second video up soon. But talk about Kawhi Leonard for a second, how he performed in the playoffs. It kind of signals to me like, all right, the Clippers are they're in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Like those two guys are still like when healthy and all, having Zubac, they drafted that center in the first round. Like they're gonna have a pretty solid squad to build around, and I think that's good for Steve Ballmer and into a dome. You know what I'm saying? So shout out James Harden. I think going back to Aiton for a second, he's just got to move on to a contender. But the Nets made a few moves, bro. The D'Lo move. Obviously, D'Lo went to Dallas. I think they re-signed Daron Sharp and Zaire Williams. The Nets are quietly stacking this thing up here. We brought up the Cole Anthony situation. Yeah, Bruce Brown you talked about. Yeah, no, I think it's pretty solid for right now. I think there's going to be some new news coming out, like for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of as we're talking, but
Yeah. Let me
that's
see.
pretty much it. Let's see what else.
Luke Cornett signs with the Spurs. 4-year,
Bro,
41.
okay.
That's
What?
boy got the
Capella
bag.
went to the Rockets,
Capella went to
bro.
the Rockets. Yep.
That's
Karis
dude, the
LeVert went to
Rockets
the
are
Pistons.
wow.
Yeah. Hey, moves. Hey, Sham said it was gonna be a good day today, and so far, so good.
That
I'm not
makes
gonna
me
lie to you.
happy, bro.
You know, and
Yeah, that makes me happy.
this is cool
We
for.
can't even keep up with it. Like I'm
Yeah.
on my phone right now. I'm not even gonna hide like I'm
I was about to say
because
this because this is cool for us, bro. Because these are those type of moves that you see as just like a casual fan, and you might not think anything of it, but like during the season, these are those type of trades that you're gonna see like why it happened, why they acquired these type of players. You know, because a
exactly.
Karis LeVert signing a 2-year, $29 million contract with the Pistons may not look like a crazy deal, but like you see it in the season when he's doing what he had been
Malik
doing.
Beasley.
Malik Beasley, yeah, you know what I mean. So we'll see,
Yeah, that
man.
whole situation. You never want to be under federal investigation. But last thing before we move on to the offseason files, man, you see the Knicks getting closer to hiring Mike Brown.
I did see that.
Yeah, we were right about that. There's not a lot of coaches on the docket. You know, T.
No.
Taylor Jenkins is still up there. Tom Thibodeau's up there, but Mike Brown was one of the candidates too,
Mm-hmm.
obviously for the Knicks. So we'll see what happens with that. Sacramento has been quiet, bro. Really, since then they've
Yeah.
been quiet. Um, De'Aaron Fox leaving out the door. They've had something. We'll talk about them in our offseason files too. It'll be interesting to see where they can go. But yeah, man, there's a crazy day. Like there's so many notifications. I'm sure there's gonna be something else that happens. Yeah, no, yeah. Kevin Porter Jr. went back to the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Did an extension. Kevon
yeah,
Looney
the,
is with the Pels
yeah.
now.
Kevon Looney, he went to the Pelicans. I like that for them, man. I was
That's
thinking
solid.
about that. I was like, he's a good locker room presence, and
Mm-hmm.
like he's not gonna be able to contribute a ton, but he's not gonna eat up a ton of minutes,
Yeah.
which is good. And I think he's gonna be like good for them,
I think him
and I
with
like
like
that.
Ease Missy, like he's gonna be a good like role
Yeah,
model
bro.
type
He's
of
gonna coach them.
glue
Yeah,
guy,
and like
champion.
to be honest, the Warriors aren't on a championship timeline, bro. Like
Mm-mm.
I don't see them winning a championship.
Nah.
I think Looney was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. But he's been on there for a long, Warriors legend for sure. Will always. I think he'll get like when he comes back to the Bay, he's the type of cat to get like a standing ovation,
Yeah,
bro.
for
Like,
sure.
yeah, he's not even like a. They're not gonna hate on him for that. He's got to
Absolutely.
move on for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You got any other players you want to chat about before I get into this great team called the Charlotte Hornets?
Uh, nah, man. I think that's good. Just it's exciting to see all these moves being made because the teams in the East specifically realize that this is their time to make moves and
Oh yeah, yeah,
actually make a push to Eastern Conference Finals run with the Celtics being down, with the Pacers being down, with the Bucks being down. You know what I mean? It's the East is gonna be, and it's not gonna be a bloodbath, but I think we're gonna probably get someone that we didn't expect to be like a top 4 seed next year.
coming out
So
of the East
I'm
for
I'm
sure.
I'm I'm super excited for that. It's getting me like season just ended a little over a week ago, and I'm already thinking of the next season. That's kind of where my mind is right now, and just thinking about like the outline of what the league is looking like. It's looking crazy, man. So yeah, just super excited about that. Obviously, like you said, Clint Capella got signed to the Rockets. I think that's a cool pickup. Another big man. They already got Steven Adams, so they're just building up depth right now. I think we talked about it kind of last pod. The double big lineup is looking like that's kind of we're going back to that a little bit. So
Back, yeah,
it's
hundred
cool.
percent.
They kind of I wouldn't say started it right, but they had a successful lineup with Sengun and like Jabari Smith Jr. and Steven Adams. Like they had a big lineup out there, so it looked like it was pretty successful for them this past season. So we'll see. Just
Right.
excited to see what these teams are going to look like at the start of the next season. So can't wait,
For
man.
sure, bro. I love it. Yeah, we'll just roll right into it, man. Charlotte Hornets. I think me and CJ have shown a lot of love to Charlotte. The offseason files is an opportunity for us to get to talk about all 30 NBA teams, and so we're gonna touch over all the teams in the NBA. So hopefully, if you're a Charlotte Hornets fan, this one's for you. But the way we do these is we start off with our three franchise players, like CJ was talking about. The Brooklyn Nets have gotten rid of two of the three. I think Charlotte's looking like they got a little core though, man.
Oh yeah.
You guys already know who the number one player is. Doesn't need an introduction, but I'll roll right into his contract deals. It's none other than LaMelo Ball. Um, Man, I mean, and I'll be honest with you, CJ. Like, I think me and you have a soft spot for LaMelo. We've seen him grow up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
No, yeah, dead
Obviously,
ass.
a cold blooded killer. I think the question for me is just like, is he going to be healthy?
That's my
He's sitting on
question.
a five. I think it's 204, bro, for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, again, it's not crazy expensive. He could be on a $280 million deal for sure. But I think, again, when you got a player that's making that type of money, you need to see him out on the court as possible. And um, again, I think he's a great player when he's on the court. He's definitely their entire offense at this stage. Kind of the reason why they drafted McNeely and Knuppel is because they need to surround him with shooters, right? And yeah, LaMelo Ball is just a special player, no doubt. But for me, it's just, can he stay on the court? Can he stay healthy? Um, Rookie of the Year, All Star, could definitely make All NBA teams if he can just be healthy.
Man.
So yeah, LaMelo Ball,
Yep.
number one player for sure.
100%.
Um, there's really nowhere else to go with that. But this next guy, I think, has played himself into being a franchise cornerstone. And I think, in my opinion, if you call the Hornets about these two players, they'll hang up the phone most likely, unless it's like I wouldn't say they're untouchable, but pretty close to it. This next guy is Brandon Miller out of Alabama, bro, a 6'7" forward. I mean, hey, bro, I think, to me, I wouldn't say, like, I think LaMelo's offensive playmaking ability is better and he can shoot better, but I would say Brandon Miller's probably the best pure scorer on that team, just one-on-one isolation. Um, Again, he's also a prototype, kind of what you're looking for on these championship teams is 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" players with long wingspans who could score the ball, guard a little bit. The question that I had in my notes for him was just like, what can he be on the defensive end?
Mm-hmm.
He's on a $50 million deal right now, still on that rookie contract. He's got that player option, so he's cheap. He's cheap, and I think for the type of production that he's giving him, the Hornets, I think it's like a perfect fit, bro. I think they're gonna have to pay Brandon Miller at some point. Obviously, whenever that they'll cross that bridge whenever they get there, and I don't know if the Hornets will have playoff success whenever they do cross that bridge, but I would not be unhappy paying Brandon Miller. I think he's going to be a good NBA player, potential All Star in this league if he can stay healthy as well and put together a full season and facilitate the ball and be more of a playmaker. But ultimately, I think LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller going into offseason are the two main players that they probably need to be building around at this moment. There's really, I know you don't have any other players on that roster besides them, but like that core is, if they would have got Cooper Flag, oh,
That'd
but
be
that
tough.
that core, yeah, that'd be tough. But they didn't. They didn't. That core is very, it's it's good.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Like, I'm not. That's one of the better ones we have in the NBA. Just like in terms of like a young core that you can build around. Like the Hornets definitely have two special dudes up there. So I think Brandon Miller is like 49.3, 49 million for 3 years.
Yeah. Solid.
So
Solid rookie
it's
contract.
pretty cheap. Yeah, bro, it's cheap. It's good. So shout out to those two guys, man. But this third guy, last dude on our list that I would say the franchise is quote unquote building around. He's actually on a descending contract, so another team friendly deal, but it's none other than Miles Bridges, who, you may not like. Obviously, he has those off the court situations, and I get that, but he's still been 19, 20 points per game for them on
Yeah.
decent shooting. And if you ask me, that's pretty good in the NBA. And so I think the Hornets recognize that he's also not a max type of guy. That's why he's on that descending contract. Is I think they want to have him around to kind of be a good spark plug and still not have that drop off. If Lamelo's having a bad game, they still got Miles Bridges and Brandon Miller to really back them up with the scoring. And so I feel like he's been able to do really well, bro. I think he doesn't get the credit that he deserves in terms of the type of player that he's grown into. Again, he's worked on his shot. He's gotten a lot better. Um, I think he's like on a $75 million deal at the moment. So again, it's pretty team friendly. But earning the 25 million this upcoming year, if he can get you 20 a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, like who's complaining, right?
Yeah.
Like I think Miles Bridges is definitely one of the more consistent scorers that we have in this league in terms of getting to it every night. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, I think he's underrated, bro.
Yeah.
Like as much as he might be not the best person off the court, which is unfortunate. I think he's definitely a good fit for what Charlotte's trying to do basketball wise. You
Right.
know, they
Yeah.
want to move on from him. I was gonna say out of these three players, the player they would most likely move on from is Miles Bridges,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a really healthy contract that could be used in a trade. And so the Hornets could look to do that this season. I wouldn't be surprised they moved off of Miles to get some more assets. But um, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? I don't. I think you would agree with me
No,
that side.
yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly, bro. Like, obviously, LaMelo and Brandon Miller
Yeah,
are
Brandon
like
Miller. Yeah,
cornerstones. One of the most exciting, you know, backcourt tandems that we have at their age too, super young, and we didn't really see a lot of them on the court this past season. I know Brandon Miller was injured, and LaMelo Ball is injured too. So that's my main thing, like you said about LaMelo for both of them. Honestly, obviously Brandon Miller this past season happened one time. I'm not gonna hold that against him, but going into this
yeah,
season, I'm gonna be more wary of that because of the history of last season. But other than that, offensively, probably one of the best. You know what I mean? Like guard duo
yeah,
players. They're
yeah.
both bigger, like 6'7", 6. I think
So good,
yeah.
bro.
So super fire. And then like you said, Miles Bridges, same. Like regardless of what you think of him off the court, what he does on the court for the team is incredible. And I saw that firsthand a couple times this season. Him hitting big shots or him dropping like 30, 35, whatever it is.
Thirty,
He had
30
he
spot.
has that he has that potential. He's an athletic forward that I think it's perfect for kind of what they're trying to build. They're not, I would say all of them aren't the greatest defensively, but
No,
they're figuring
about
out that,
we're about to talk about that.
yeah, no, 100%. But that it is good building blocks to be competitive in the league. If you have a high-powered offense, we saw with the Pacers this season. If you have that, it's hard for a lot of teams to keep up with it, and you don't even need to have the greatest defense. But if you're competent and you're all on the same page, you could
Yep,
potentially make it to the finals. So yeah, no, you said it perfectly, bro. I agree with all three of those people.
for sure. Now, I'm kind of moving into the key objectives they need to hit this offseason now. These I have some other like strategic improvements that are more specific, so they're separate, but kind of just list these ones off that I have listed here. So the number one thing I feel like they need to do is find shooters, which they did through the draft. But I think finding people to space the floor with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller when they're out there is probably the number one thing. They need their offense to be great.
Mm-hmm.
That's step one. Step two is they need to find probably like 1 to 2 free agents that they could sign to potentially help these younger guys. Maybe that's DeAndre Ayton, right? Because they don't have a center.
Yeah.
But they need to find somebody with a veteran presence who's been around some sort of winning. Even DeAndre Ayton has been around winning. Like he hasn't won a finals yet, but he's
He's been
like
there.
been to the playoffs and like been on good teams.
Yep.
And so you can learn a lot from those types of players, like a Dorian Finney-Smith on the Rockets. Like I think he's going to be a really good locker. They can find 1 to 2 players that are like that to help bolster the locker room. I think the sky's the honestly, CJ, you said it. I don't know if people caught it, but you can skip it back. Um, like the East is wide open. I think the sky's the limit for
Yeah.
the Hornets
Yeah.
if they can figure out a way to like win 40 or 50 games and have LaMelo Ball healthy and Brandon Miller healthy. Like I think they could be a top 6 seed
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, bro.
You
That's
know?
that's kind of why I said that, because I was kind
Yeah,
of talking about Charlotte, low key, just because health
they're
is
good.
really their only thing that we hold against them. If they could stay healthy for a whole season, there's no telling
hmm
the potential of this
You
team. So
you touched on him too. Like Trey Mann might be walking out the door. Like they're
mhm.
gonna have to fill some of their bench unit,
Yeah.
and that's this is the third thing that I saw bringing in. Just recouping their bench, getting some more assets, but also focusing on defensive. issues. So they're a horrible defensive team. And me and
Terrible.
CJ, I mean, if you guys can look at the stats, but like,
Terrible.
yeah,
They're
defensive
so
net
bad.
rating's been terrible. I think they've been bottom third of the league the last 5 years,
Yeah,
which is
it's
inexcusable.
yeah.
Um, but outside, that's another reason why I put that on there. Like you said it a couple minutes ago, but their defense has to improve, and I think if they can find some free agents who can lock down a little bit, again, like we can get some assets. Maybe they're not the best players, but we can use them to flip. We can flip them into assets, and then we can actually recoup our bench and get some defensive. I don't know, like you don't even need a defensive stopper per se. You just need people who are bought in on defense.
Hmm.
Somebody who was like that was Grant Williams, who they got rid of, but like that's a good example. Somebody he's not going to stop an all-star, but he cares about defense. He dives on the floor. He wants to be in help side. Like you need guys who are willing to be bought in on that side of the floor, and then yeah, just refining your bench depth to me is super duper important. But strategically, yeah, the number one thing is defensive identity, which we were just about adding athletic wings, adding rim protection. So that's another thing we haven't talked about. But since they don't have a center, and they've had poor centers over the last few seasons, they need to add rim protection. They need to have people who can man the paint. They need to have somebody in there who they can trust to get rebounds, get blocks, just help. I guess be like that main voice on their defense because they just don't have that right now. And we saw their draft. It was really good. I think they addressed the shooting need. They took Concanapple and um, what's his face, Liam McNeely,
McNeely,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
McNeely.
McNeely, which are two of some of the best shooters in this recent draft. So they're going to be on really team friendly deals. I think cap is not an issue for them too. It's just uh, more so finding the guys that could fit around Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball right now. And I think as long as they continue to develop their internal talent, they can pick up certain guys on free agents, on certain deals like we talked about. But I think using their draft picks during the summer league, making sure that they're developing their players, staying on that same timeline is going to be what's most important for Charlotte. Um, and yeah, I think, I don't want to, bring it up, but if something doesn't happen within the next 3 years with Lamelo, like where does this team really go? I think it's kind of now or never.
Hmm.
This is like the best you're gonna get or the most you're gonna get, and so I feel like they should kind of be going pretty all in on what they can do next to build around the core that they have because you just don't get players that are like Brandon Miller or Lamelo Ball all the time,
Yeah.
and so I think they need to focus on adding defensive talent and getting shooting and doing all that. But they had a great draft. Like we rated it. They had like an A+ draft for sure. And I think again, like I didn't really know when these offseason files were gonna hit, but since the draft has already happened, they kind of already did some of those things. They addressed the shooting need, which I think is good. But yeah, I think they got to use some of their cap room this summer to sign 1 to 2 players that are going to help bolster their defense and, like I said, be a veteran presence. And the numbers that Brandon Miller and LaMelo Bridges are on pretty team friendly. I think LaMelo's the most expensive player at 250, I think, with potential incentives. So they don't cap isn't their issue.
Hmm.
Like they're
Nah.
going to be able to sign these guys. I wouldn't be shocked if they got Aiton. They recently traded. We didn't talk about it yet, but they traded for Colin Sexton,
Yes.
which I didn't love, but again, getting rid of Nurkic, I do like. I don't think he's a good center in my opinion, but having another guard on your bench is honestly they addressed their bench a little bit. I think since Trey Mann walked, that probably makes some sense more now than it did yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like that. Colin Sexton's a dog, bro. He's good on the defensive side too,
Yeah.
which is something that we touched on in this topic so far. He's a lot better defensively than most of the guards that they have on that roster. So I think, bro, just leaning into like McNeely and Knuppel, and I know those guys are going to play a lot of minutes. And LaMelo Ball is going to be out there as much as he can, and he seemed really excited to. They posted a video on their the Charlotte Hornets did on their Instagram, and it kind of showed like LaMelo Ball was practicing with them and stuff. So it was cool to see like they're already tapping in, and Yeah, I think Charlotte's going to be good this offseason, man. Like they're going to have to do a couple things, but they have already started off this journey of figuring out how to get to the top of the East again. Because I think it's wide open, bro. It's very it's up in the air. But I feel like if they get the shooting, they get the defense. They sign one or two guys that can help them do that. They get the center. I
Hmm.
think they're going to be able to compete.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's the my main thing too is, we were talking about it, we talked about Colin Sexton getting traded there, them trading away uh who is it? Nurkic? Nurkic. Um he
They
was
played.
he
So.
was their only center, so it's like
Yeah,
I just went through their
yeah.
roster. They drafted a center in the draft, obviously, Ryan Kalkbrenner. They drafted him.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the
Second
roster.
round.
Yeah, second round. Yeah. But as of right now, he is their only center. So they have a lot of forwards. They have maybe some guards that could potentially play forwards, but when we talked about that earlier before we started recording, I didn't really think about that, honestly. So that is something they need. Especially with a lot of these teams, I brought it up earlier, doing double big. So if they do double big against y'all,
Yeah. There you
mismatch right off
go.
the bat. But like I said, offense great. They did really well in the draft. They found players that are really plug and play, and for the type of team that they run, the offense that they run, it was perfect for them. But they definitely do need to get better defensively. That is the one thing I forgot how bad they were defensively this year, because I think
They're horrible.
it kind of
They're horrible.
their offense sometimes outshines that a little bit, because they'll make a comeback or they'll start hitting their shots. So it's like, oh yeah, it's
They're
not that bad.
horrible,
Yeah, but
bro.
they're bad. So that's my main thing.
It, yeah, it starts from just their back line. I think if they find the center, like again, Colin Sexton's good on defense.
Mhm.
Like they're finding some guys who can play that role.
What do you
So
think about like Nikhil Alexander Walker there? Obviously another
that would
guard,
be
or
good.
like a guard
That would
for
be fine.
right, like a defensive minded type. That's what I was thinking of,
Yeah,
because I'm looking at like
like that would
free
be
agents
fine.
as well. There's honestly no centers. Brooke Lopez just signed with the Clippers. I don't know if you saw that, 2 year, 18 mil.
I did
Uh,
not see that.
but I was looking at center positions that are available.
They got a traffic jam at
It's
center.
pretty light, honestly. There's not that much players that
Yeah, I'm
can
not.
make a difference at this very moment.
Yeah,
Maybe like
yeah.
a Al Horford if you're trying to get one, but you know what I mean.
You think Aiton would be good on the Hornets?
I think Aiton is a good center. I don't think he's good
He's a good defensive.
defensive center. So
Yeah,
that's my only
yeah,
reason why I didn't want to bring him up, because it's kind of, you're getting a piece, but you're getting someone that doesn't help
yeah.
you
They
where
they
you're
just should have
lacking.
they should have they shouldn't have let Mark Williams
No,
go.
they should not have let him go. Honestly, he was great. He's a great center. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
and they got rid of the 10th pick. We didn't talk about it, but like that Malawak, that there's a reason the Suns got that. That's because the Hornets for sure. They definitely fumbled a little bit with that, but I think that yeah, I didn't like the Mark Williams to Phoenix,
nah,
but
neither
I
did
saw
I.
that happening because they were gonna trade him to LA,
Yeah,
so
yeah, that would have been
I kind of
perfect for
already
him.
knew he was out the door for sure. But somehow we still got Dalton Connect from it all. But yeah, Charlotte's gonna be good this offseason, bro. I think they got there's what? I think it's like 40 million over the cap.
Hmm.
So they're or under. So
Under,
they're
yeah, yeah.
they're fine. Yeah. They have a lot of room. And yeah, like they're not they I don't think they have a bad contract on their books, bro.
No, they don't.
Their books are really healthy.
I mean, LaMelo Ball, but like he's your franchise player, right? So you're gonna want to pay him a lot.
Yeah, I would say like it's and even that one's not horrible,
No,
right? Like the 200
yeah,
I think he made maybe a signing bonus,
yeah.
but
I mean
up to 250.
yeah, it's an ascending contract. This upcoming year is getting 38, and then each year after that is 40, 43, and then 46. So that's not that bad for the type of player that he is, at least.
Yeah, facts. Facts. That kind of wraps it up for the off-season files for Charlotte, man. I think you guys kind of know what you guys need to do. The East is wide open, like CJ said, so more power to you guys. If you guys can figure it out in that crazy spot, then hey, it's respect. But yeah, that's gonna do it for
Yeah.
3 Man Weave, man, for sure. If you guys like this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Um, we'll catch you guys next time, man. CJ, you got anything else you wanted to say to the lovely people?
No, man. Just there is no basketball on, so y'all can't watch hoops. But
No, right?
there's a lot of stuff going on. There's summer league about to happen, so I would stay tuned for that, and pay attention to a lot of these younger guys that just got drafted. Man, there's a lot of good talent in this draft. Super excited to see who's gonna be the standout in summer league, and just ready for this upcoming season again, man. It just ended, so it's very fresh, but I'm ready, man. Ready to see who's gonna ball out, who's gonna be competing in the East, like we said, because it's gonna be wide open next year, and seeing if the boys could go back to back. So yeah, that's it for me, man.
100%, bro. Well, like I said, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. It's gonna do it for you boys over here at 3 Man Weave, man. Peace.
Peace. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.